have some friends joining us for this Shabbat, and I'm gonna post into the chat the link for our prayer book. And because it is the Shabbat of Passover, Chol HaMoed Pesach this morning, we've got some real fun and unusual things that don't usually get to happen. But there is our prayer book, so I'll be posting some things in. And if you're joining us on YouTube, those posts are going to be provided for you there too, I hope. But in any case, Shabbat Shalom and welcome. We're going to start our tefillah this morning with Matovu. I hope that you'll sing with me from home. It is a virtual tent that we're creating. It certainly would be better to be in person, there's no doubt, standing under our giant talit together, but we will be under this tent instead, this cosmic psycho-spiritual tent. I wouldn't want to share it with anyone else. With all of you, my chosen family, my family of origin, my people, my friends. That's where we're going to start this morning, and I have to remind myself to tell you the page numbers. So, on your virtual prayer book, we begin on page 92 if you have a Siddur or a Kindle version. We are on page 74. Feel free to chat in a welcome note, a Shabbat Shalom, a hello friends as we move forward. Here we go. Already I'm being asked about the virtual prayer book, so before I chant, let me go ahead and put that in the chat one more time for you. It was in there, but I'll do it again just to make sure that you're comfortable. I wouldn't want to start without everybody feeling like they have what they need, so one more time. Okay. Should be right there for you now, Elise and others, and we're at 9 people, and Leora's in the room, so we've got our minion. Yay! So we are going to start again on page 92 or page 74 in your actual hard copy prayer book. Here we go. Welcome again, friends. One more time, I just want to post in our chat our prayer book in case we had a new arrival. Good morning, and Shabbat Shalom, and of course, Chag Sameach to all. We're going to continue our prayer this morning, including as we've been over the last many weeks. This is actually a moment to notice that it is our 5th weekend, our 5th Shabbat. virtual, our fifth Shabbat, reaching one another over these mysterious waves that somehow connect us. And it is in this tension between what we cannot see and what we can that real moments of awareness and being awake to the mystery are available to us. We have these two sides of the coin in these next two prayer books. In these next two moments, I'm just seeing somebody says that they're having a little trouble hearing me. I'm not sure how much more I can do about that. But let me just take a quick look at my audio settings and see if it's possible, if that makes things any better. Test. Yeah, I see. Not so good. Testing. Is that any better, friends? Is that a little better? Give me like a thumbs up if it's better. Oh, good. Someone just said it's better. Yay! I needed Leora, my sound engineer, to help me out. Okay, good. So back to the tefillah. So we are in this moment where our sages give us two halves of a whole, right? On the one, we have the mystery that is our bodies and how they work, and this very tachlis way in which our veins, our arteries, our tendons, our muscles, our spine, the body that's around it, the skeleton, all of that is working all the time without us doing much at all to keep it going and protected. And the prayer of these days when people are feeling so fragile physically and so concerned with good reason, to notice how much our bodies do and how brilliant it is. And on the other side of the coin, that neshama, that soul that flows through us, and how the two need one another. The vessel that is the body and the soul that is the spirit and the uniqueness that is who we are and what we are. And so we start first with noticing the physical. I am on page 95 and 77 in your hard copy, Siddur. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign, one who orders the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, Adonai, Rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot, source of health, source of strength. And we move forward in our virtual Siddur now to page, just one page further to page 96, as we pray into our awareness, not only the body, but the spirit as well. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. You can keep that going. Elohai, Elohai, neshama shenatata bi, Elohai tehora, tehora, Elohai neshama shenatata bi, Tehorahi Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Moda'ani lefanecha, I am grateful before you, Adonai Elohai ve'Elohei avotai v'imotai, Ribon kol hamasim, Adon kol haneshamot. Baruch atah Adonai b'ish asher biyada nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol bisari. One more time. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora, tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. out, we strengthen, we open, we try to give a little bit of love to the creaks and the places that we notice in both the body and the spirit where there is resistance. And we treat all of it with as much love as we can, allowing the chesed of this day to flow through us. We continue with the Nisim B'chol Yom, the blessings of every day. I will chant the openings and invite you to respond with Amen and the bracha that follows. We are now on page 98 in our virtual Siddur and page 80 in your Siddur, your hard copy Siddur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen.
We turn forward. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Again, forward 2 pages.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who hallows us with the mitzvot of all kinds, but especially to open our hearts to what we might engage with this morning, both the words of Torah that come later and the words that are the Torah that are our own experiences of self and awareness. May I be aware and open to that Torah too. We move forward in our prayer book to our Elu Divarim, one of those essential teachings. The text says, these are the things, these are them that you must hold on to. The things that there is never too much of it that could be had in the world. Never a time where we say, dayenu, to these things. But here in this moment, the place is where the more we do, the better. We know we can just keep doubling down. And so the text begins, Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Oh, and I am on page 106 in your virtual Siddur, or page 88. I'll begin again. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא, ואלו הן כיבוד אב ואם וגמילות חסדים והשכמת בית המדרש שחרית וערבית והכנסת אורחים וביקור חולים והכנסת כלה ולוויית המת ועיון תפילה והבאת שלום בין אדם לחברו ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם. We move forward in our Siddurim to the Pesukei de Zimra, to our verses of praise. Here is where we get to just shout, just be with the things that we have gratitude for this day. What we are noticing is for us this day. We turn to page 112 in our virtual Siddurim, or page 94. Baruch she'amar
והיה העולם ברוך הוא, ברוך עושה בראשית, ברוך אומר ועושה, ברוך חוזר ומקיים, ברוך מרחם על הארץ, ברוך מרחם על הבריות, ברוך משלם שכר טוב לרעב, ברוך חי לעד וקיים לנצח, ברוך פודה ומציל, ברוך שמו. בשבחות ובזמרות נגד אליך ונשבחך ונפארך ונזכיר שמך ונמליכך, מלכנו אלוהינו, יחיד חי העולמים, מלך משובח ומפרדי עד שמו הגדול, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מהולל בתשבחות.
We turn forward now in our prayer book to the Psalm for Shabbat, the only psalm actually in the entire 150 that expressly calls out, here is our practice for Shabbat. To take all that we know, to remember that we are not planted in the earth with easy to pull out roots, but deep ones that last for generations upon generations. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat. It is good to sing out. It is good to let it out. We continue on page 114 or page 96.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסידיך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי יעזור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון לחנון. מזמור שיר יום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון.
And so just a few lines down on that page, we have this beautiful text that we sometimes skip, but I want to take just another moment with it. Magadlu ma'asecha Adonai, how good it is. Hallelujah, how good, how good. And with praise, I'll just say, all your works, God, they are so great, they are past my ability to comprehend. All I have to do for this day is notice them.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Magadlu masechaya, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. הללויה, 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 הללויה. גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. One last time, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
And so we move forward in our prayer book, our virtual prayer book, to page 115. I'm sorry if some of you are still having some issues hearing. I'm up as much as I can go for today. Perhaps you could turn your computer's volume up yourself. I don't know if that will do the trick. And so as a call and response, I will offer אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יהללוך סלה אשרי העם שככה לו אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו תהילה לדוד ארוממך אלוהי המלך ועברך שמך לעולם ועד בכל יום אברכך והללה שמך לעולם ועד גדול אדוני ומחולל מאוד ולגדולתו אין חקר דור לדור ישבח מעשיך וגבורותיך יגידו הדר כבודותיך ודברי נפלותיך עשיך וזוז נורותיך יאמרו וגדולתך אספרנה זכר רב טובך יביעו וצדקותיך ירננו חנון ורחום אדוני ערך אפיים וגדל חסד טוב אדוני לכל ורחמיו על כל מעשיו יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך וחסידיך יברכוך כבוד מלכותך יאמרו וגבורתך ידברו להודיע לבני אדם גבורותיו וכבוד הדר מלכותו מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים וזוקף לכל הכפופים עיני כל אליך יסברו ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו פותח את ידיך ומשביע לכל חי רצון צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו וחסיד בכל מעשיו קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו לכל אשר יקראו באמת רצון יראיו יעשה ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו ואת כל הרשעים ישמיד תהילת אדוני ידבר פי ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם hallelujah. So we play even more with that hallelujah moment, that moment in which the word itself is the praise. The word itself holds within it all the layers, all the threads of praise, all the threads of gratitude, of awareness. We turn in our virtual Sidurim to page 115 or page 97. No, apologies, 118 or page 100. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Actually, I wasn't going to do that melody. I changed my mind in the moment. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. This one, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. so friends, we continue on page 124 in our virtual Siddur, of course, with the words of our Chatzi Kaddish, our half Kaddish. I'll say it now here that if you are able to rise up on your feet, I invite you to. But if it is harder, therefore, because you would be too far from your screen or your books or your whatever, the point has always been the same, which is that our awareness should be risen, should be elevated in this moment. That rising up is about forming from the inside out, from the outside in, a relationship, that our awakening happens in a more profound way in this moment as we transition from what has been a more informal part of our worship to now what our sages understood as the truly formal part that we need to be that much more attentive to. And so rising up either on your feet or on the inside or a little bit or a lot of both. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמדי ורחלותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר רימם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה לשמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעולמה ואמרו amen. So over these last few weeks we have been, I'm going to invite you to turn in your Siddur, your virtual Siddur, to page 126, but as a way of bringing us into our Baruch Hu communally, we ask these questions. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? And we start with this beautiful nigun to bring us in. My prayer. Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. Worship on our virtual Siddur page 128. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzeror uborech hoshech oseh shalom boreh et hakol. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shalom boreh et hakol, shalom boreh et hakol, shalom boreh et hakol. Just taking a moment at this point in our tefillah. Blessed are you, our text asks us to sit with, who creates all the lights for us. And therefore, everything else that we see because of the light that enters into our world. Of course, the literal light, the light outside in the morning, but so much more than that, so much deeper and richer than the light that is the physical world. But the lights that go on that are the lights of compassion, something I'm going to speak about later. the lights of forgiveness, the light of awareness, the light of being opened to receiving, to learning the wisdom that's already there, and to getting comfortable with the discomfort of being with this deep unknown, this deep, deep unknown. And so we continue together with our true enlightenment text that asks us first to know that we are loved. And I just want to say one more moment first before we move into Ahava Rabbah, that we are loved by an unending love, that today marks for us our second full day of our counting, our Sfirat HaOmer practice. You may know that in each week there is given to us an opportunity to experiment and explore a different sphira, a different emanation of God that is connected to one of our character traits, soul traits. We call them midot. Week 1 is the soul trait of chesed. And 2, each day, another midah interfaces with the one of the week. And today is givura sheb chesed, the givura, the discipline, even judgment, the boundaries in chesed, in the flow that is love. We all know too well that there is great possibility that we can love too much, unbounded in a particular way in which we don't have enough boundaries so that our love isn't able to receive in its purity. And sometimes we know too that we withhold too much, that we don't let love flow for whatever reason, because we are hurt, because we are scared. The one difference here that our sages teach us is that Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu. God doesn't have an on button and an off button, or a need for God's love to be in some way boundaried for us. Like the shefa that we are taught is God's way of giving love to us that we can drink from, source from. That chesed never stops running like a faucet that's flowing forever. It is we who need to work on our boundaries with it. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu, we are the receivers of an endless love. No boundaries, no need, because God's love is unending, so says our sages. And so we continue in our prayer book on page 130, or page 112. Ahava Rabbah Ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemda Gidula V'Tera Amarta Aleinu Ba'avur Avoteinu Ve'imotenu Shebatchu
והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו. כי אל פועל ישועות אתה ובנו בחרת, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול לסלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
We move forward in our Sidurim, page 134 or page 116.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We move forward, page 136 or 118. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם, emet. We move forward in our Siddur. And as is our custom to our redemption text, and as is our custom at this time of year, we move into our Siddur to page 140 in our virtual, or 122. But here we are once again getting to sing our Adirhu melody. This is our melody that is like our Pesach flavor pack. And so Micha Mocha always absorbs the flavor of the holiday. And so we sing Micha Mocha Va'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha Nedar B'Kodesh Norati Lo Osef Eleh Shira Chadasha שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני עמו לעולם ועד. And so again, if you are able, we invite you to rise up on the inside or on your feet, one way or another, to draw your attention up and up again, or deeper and deeper perhaps, as we chant together the words of Tzur Yisrael, which can be found on the same exact page, but just a word that we will then be moving directly into our Amidah
for Shabbat morning, which can be found on page 142 or page 124. And we move forward.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Koneh Hakol ve'Zocher Chazdei אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע. And we move into מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומטמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. We move forward a page 208, or moving forward to page 200, just one more page forward in your page 144. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ, כבודו אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו אחד הוא אלוהינו ואבינו מלכנו ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי אני אדוני אלוהיכם ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהייך ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. And so we continue our tefillah quietly, privately, allowing our own prayers to rise up, to leave our mouths to be more fully aware to us and known to us. And we travel all the way through our tefillah until page 160 or page 242. יהי רצונים לפי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי. So in just a moment, I am going to be sending you another link to look up. You can also, of course, just listen. But I'm going to be posting another link in the chat. This is for an excerpt, just a short excerpt from the book of Shir Hashirim Sefer, Shir Hashirim, the Song of Songs. It is traditional and thought of as a great elevation of the Shabbat of Chol HaMoed Pesach, of the intermediate days of Passover. Not to chant the Hallel that we do on the other days of Pesach, but instead to chant these words that are the most sensual, supple, intimate words that exist in our Tanakh, in our Hebrew Bible. A true love story exists in these texts of Shir Hashirim. The sages put this text in, we can only imagine, because of their true identification with the coupling that happens between a soul and her spiritual creator. Whatever is we understand as God or as the source of life, our sages very deeply, deeply connected into this idea that we become fused, we become more alive when we are manifesting this intimate relationship with the divine mystery. And certainly we have felt it in our relationships from person to person when the divine spark really brings us the people that we need in our lives and ignites in us. And so too are these words of Shir Hashirim about celebrating the love both of mystery and humanity and human beings to one another, how we long to be close to one another in these days, how we long for the physical contact that we have been kept from. And so I offer this as a way of us departing from our silent prayer this morning. These beautiful words of Shir Hashirim, I'm going to just offer a few of them in the traditional chant. I'm in chapter 2, but I'm going to begin at verse 10 and go through verse 15, verse 15 or 16 actually. Some of these words will be quite familiar to you. Ana dodi ve'amari kumi lach rayati yafati ulechilach ki hine chastav avar hageshem chalaf halach lo הניצבים נראו בארץ, עץ הזמיר הגיע, וכל התור נשמע בארצנו. התנה חונתה פגיה, והגפנים סמדר נתנו ריח. קומי לך, רעייתי יפתי ולכי לך, יונתי בתגי ויעשה לה, בסתר המדרגה, הראיני את מראייך, השמיעיני את קולך, כי קולך ערב ומראך נווה. אחזו לנו שועלים, שועלים קטנים, מחבלים כרמים, וכרמנו סמדר. דודי לי ואני לא הרואה Bishoshanim. And so a little taste of the Shir Hashirim today. And so with that taste, that kavanah on our hearts, I want to invite you now to offer names of those in your life who are in need of healing. I want to begin first by offering a blessing, a prayer that we've been offering of late for people who are really and truly on the front lines, giving their own safety over for the safety of others. I know that each of us is doing that each day simply by staying in our homes and not having as much more contact than necessary. But these are the people who truly selflessly are putting themselves at risk day after day to make it whole for the rest of us. And so we say with them in our hearts, you may have those, you may know people, you may want to write them in the chat as well. But we say, may the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who put themselves at risk to care for the sick. Physicians and nurses and orderlies, technicians and home health aides, EMTs and pharmacists, hospital social workers and respiratory therapists, not to mention people working in the grocery stores and people delivering items to our doors day after day. We think of those, we put their names in our chat, we send them out. We praise you, God, as we ask you to help them navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day, to tend to those they have sworn to help. Bless them in their coming home and bless them in their going out. Ease their fear, sustain them. Source of all breath, healer of all beings, protect them and restore their hope. Strengthen them that they may bring strength. Keep them in health that they may bring healing. Help them know again at a time when they can breathe without fear. Bless the sacred work of their hands, God. May this plague pass from among all of us speedily and in our days. And now, that is by Rabbi Ayelet S. Cohen. And now I'm going to read names of people in our community who are in need of such healing and invite you to write those names. Thank you so much for already beginning to put those names in. I really appreciate that, and I'm seeing them. And so here is our community's list. Ephraim ben Wolf, Rachaleah, Mimi Jacobs, Joshua Gendel, and Rosenberg, Harav Meir Simcha ben Shena. Eileen Smith, Zachariah Yaakov, Ben Karen, Chiara D'Agostino, Yehudit Devora Batova Umoshe, Jill Turetsky, Laura Bellamy, Bonnie Horowitz, Lori Ann Romale, Linda Paintner-Levine, Charlotte Ganzer, Andrea Pinelli, Claude Pomper, Edith Shavat, Mina Seaman, Lila Margulies, Sharon Rosen, Randy Lowe, Miriam Bat Esther, Joanne Jelsi Fusco, Jane Raitt, Lillian Wexler, Ed Lillian Schmidt, Esther Gittel Bat Rivka, Jerry Hoffman, Gavriel Bat Chava, Tegan Kaiser, Gabe Patnoy, Beryl Ben Pinchas Verwachalea, Alexander Roberts, Rosalind Wellner, Irving Berner, David Ben Chenu, Elijah Richards, Phyllis Natter, Wolf Leib Ben Pesach Esther, Diane Felder, Stephen Penny, Roberta Sandler Feld, Barbara Lesser, Nachum Zalman Ben Rachalea, Phyllis Shankman, Jean Siegel, Sherry Newworth, Celia Zizel, Paul Leggett, Phil Murphy, Bracha Devora Bat Chai, Sora Yisrael, Diane Horowitz, and Joe Wojak, Dr. Irving Butterman, Jack Allard, George and Eileen Green, Yonatan Yisrael, Ben Rivka, and of course the others that we see in our chat. We move forward in our prayer book for our Kaddish, for our Mishaberach Lecholim, if you are in need, to page 271 in our virtual Siddur, as I offer these familiar words and melody. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor Bracha
So friends, it is hard to be with all of the discomfort of the day and to still rejoice in our time together, but that is the way of not only these days, but of being a human, right? Being part of this species that is the human race. And so, in a moment, we're going to, of course, read from our Sefer Torah. I'm so glad to know that some of you are here with me enough to make our virtual minyan. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently today because I would like to give my teaching first before we read Torah, and hopefully you'll understand why in a moment. And so I'm going to share some words that I have prepared for the day. So Shabbat Shalom, of course, again. We are going to be reading from the book of Exodus, 34, 1 to 10. I can go ahead and cut and paste that into the chat already so that you've got it all queued up if you like, but you can also just quietly listen with me in this teaching for a few minutes first. So this section of Torah that we are about to read is, of course, not in the regular flow of our parshiot because it is, as I've already mentioned, and as you already know, the Pesach that happens during the intermediate days of, the Shabbat of the immediate days of Passover. It's read every year at exactly this moment, and of course is read earlier in our season when we naturally get to chapter 34, but it's revisited here and it's elevated here. And I want to examine, a couple of reasons why I think that might be so, and perhaps it will inspire in you some others that you can think about for the rest of the day, the rest of the week of Pesach. So a little bit of context. This is always important, right? The moment that we will revisit in Torah in a few moments from now happens immediately after what is known in our tradition as the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf moment, situation, the moment that we, do the thing, do the deed. Of course, you know it well. The Israelites are given several days to prepare because Moses is going to ascend Har Sinai, the mountain, and they are going to be waiting, kind of sitting vigil until his return. And he tells them that he'll be gone for a set of days, 40 days, and that when he comes back, he'll reveal what he's learned with his encounter. And so, of course, Moses ascends and he leaves the Israelites waiting for his return. And as you know, as you've heard taught many times, they get their counting a little bit wrong, right? You were supposed to count from the day he left, or from when he started up the mountain, or from the night before, etc. And so their counting gets a little bit wrong. And when they think it should be the exact moment, and you can imagine them waiting with bated breath, counting down the hours for his return, I know I certainly would be, there is this panic that sets in when, in the moment that he is supposed to be descending the mountain, he is nowhere to be found. And so you see, they don't calmly speak to each other, let's wait, let's give him a few more hours, a few more days. Instead, like a virus that passes through each of them, they begin to unravel, and the anxiety and fear and panic begins to set in and take over and spread. They don't have what I like to think of as the curating, the cultivating yet of the spiritual and emotional and therefore psychological raw materials that future generations do. They haven't had any formal instruction. They haven't had formal instruction from their teachers or from God. They have no books to refer to. They are really in the infancy stages of the development of their soul traits, of their midot. To be fair, they've been enslaved, and everything about freedom, everything, including spiritual development, is completely and utterly new and confusing and daunting and scary. They are filled with
as we are taught, as our sages teach us, the same stuff that all of everything in creation, but in particular, we know as human beings, this energy, this matter. In the tradition, it's called yetzer, and we know that it is the inclination that lives in us that moves our lives forward, and they are filled with it, just as we are. But they do not yet know how to be with it and how to discover and have enough awareness that they have choices. Even though they may feel panic and fear and anxiety, they still have choices for what comes after. They have yet to develop that skill. They are just motivated by the moment, by what is, the amygdala, right? That primordial space that lives in the brain. And so you know what happens. Of course, Moses comes down the mountain, sees that they've created a golden calf and are worshiping it. And Moses, in what I think of as a fit of despair, some sages say anger, right? But for me, the moment of him seeing what he's taking in, what he's seeing, and he has these tablets, the luchot in his hands, and in despair, his overcoming with disappointment, he smashes them to the ground. And right there, right in that moment, something in that brokenness is born. Something extraordinary, something that perhaps couldn't have been born without the brokenness. Everyone, the Israelites, Moses, Aaron, the whole family, and God, everyone grows in that moment. Everyone changes. For the Israelites, what is born in them is awareness. And it's not just sort of general, it's all kinds of awareness, but in particular, the awareness that their behavior matters. You know, the other Near East cultures didn't have a relationship to what they did having any real consequences in the divine realm. Our tradition believes that deeply. We affect and therefore are needed to behave with a certain kind of awareness because the things that we do really have consequences and do matter. And what is born for God in that moment is what our rabbinic sages call the 13 attributes of mercy, the Shlosh Esre Midot HaRachamim. You know the text. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, merciful and gracious God, Erach Apayim, slow to anger, V'Rav Chesed be'emet, abundant in both goodness and in truth, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, keeping that compassion, that mercy unto the thousandth generation, Nosei Avon v'Afesha v'Chata'a v'Nakeh, and forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. The translation on the pshat level, on that sort of clear level, is, I think, very clearly about compassion and mercy. But the sages go another incredibly beautiful step forward, deeper into it. And what they do is they take each of the 13 attributes and they deepen their definitions of them so that each attribute, each part of this midah, of this merciful, compassionate whole, is defined in a slightly different, nuanced way, as if to teach us still, compassion is not one size fits all. There are different sources that we can dip into. For instance, there's a different kind of compassion that one encounters when they are giving compassion over to somebody who, let's say, has made an error and realizes it already, right? And already for themselves is having the awareness and the need to take on the responsibility. A very different kind of compassion and mercy might be given over to a person who has made a great error and needs compassion in some way from us, but who has absolutely no idea that they've done what they've done, right? And perhaps there is the kind of compassion that we have to source from that is administering discipline and boundaries, and yet still we give over that compassion in a way that doesn't shut down our own goodness from continuing to flow. There's the kind of compassion that one must give when one is still deeply hurt themselves, even grieving in pain, and still compassion must be given. And let's not forget the kind of compassion that one must show to oneself, even if one feels that they do not yet deserve it. they are all so incredibly nuanced, these different ways of being compassionate. And it is such an essential soul trait, this tradition teaches, that even God has to create 13 variations for God's self so that it can leave us with that much more for us to source from. I'll admit that in years past, this week's Torah portion came and went without a whole lot of reflection from me during Passover because I was usually so exhausted by this time of year. But certainly for me and for all of us, this has been a Passover like none other. What I'm so deeply drawn into that I didn't connect into ever before is just how much I feel like the Israelites, not in the moments of feeling into their freedom like I usually do around Passover time, right? The celebration of being able to make choices for myself, but much more so in the weeks that in our Torah it describes that go later, after all the excitement and the ruach and the yay, we're free, then it starts to set in that what is in front of us is completely and utterly unknown. That we may have a sense of our freedom as we sit here in this day and age, but we do not know what tomorrow will bring. We never knew, but now it is so in our reflection right there, so much more intensely than perhaps ever before. Since the last month or so, we have been in this sequestering state. And we have each had in our own ways to struggle and wrestle with all of these endless feelings and emotions that are arising. And I don't know about you exactly, but I've spoken to many of you, and I would assume that you're not so different from me, in that in one even given day, just one, I could run the whole spectrum from gratitude to despair to worry and anxiety to relief. I mean, the whole thing, the whole life cycle in one day. Sometimes even in 1 hour. And when, perhaps, I am in moments where I am so deeply blended with one of those great and overwhelming emotions, the thing that could set me at least a little bit back and give me a little more space from it, that I so desperately need and that I am having so much trouble creating for myself, is compassion. Compassion for this extraordinary complexity that we are living in right now. I can relate more to the Israelites waiting at the bottom of the mountain for Moses to come back in those hours when they weren't sure he might ever return, now more than ever. But the difference, and this is a big difference, between the Israelites and us is that we do have the tools. We have had the chance to develop our midot. And if we haven't done that inner working, what a moment for inspiration. What a time to take it up and to see what is there. These 13 attributes make up verses 6 and 7 of our Torah portion that I'm going to offer in a moment. When we are chanting them today, you will notice how familiar they are because they are also included in our liturgy for taking our Sefer Torah out of the Ark when we eventually do return to our Ark. They are part of our Slichot prayers, which are offered regularly. They are part of our centerpiece as part of our Vidui section in our High Holidays worship. They are revisited again and again and again, and they are referenced in endless words of text and poetry. There is one beautiful midrash, however, that I want to end with, and that is that the midrashist associates this moment where these 13 attributes are offered with pictures God as the prayer leader, wrapping God's self up in the talit, in perhaps a talit of light, and that God is actually leading our davening in these verses, in these words of mercy, of compassion, of reminder. And it's even customary in some communities to rise up and stand at these verses to really truly receive them again, either standing up on the outside or both on the inside and out. And so today, when we receive this Torah portion again, I want to invite you, if you are so inclined, to rise up in those verses. I'm going to chant one word at a time and invite you to repeat after me. If you like, you can just listen. It's also okay. And I want you to see if it's possible to take that moment and make it into a spiritual practice for the day. The practice being to notice where there may be resistance, perhaps an opening, perhaps something hidden that is a place of compassion that lives already. Maybe a moment of prayer that I may know compassion for some moment that I have yet to forgive, either for myself or for others or for the universe. Before I move us into Torah, though, I want to say one thing, because I know I can see who's on the list, and I know you're gonna dig in deep. I want to be clear for total transparency that you're going to hear after the 13 attributes are given that the tone changes. It's pretty dramatic. And there's a sting that we feel. And the sting is that we hear the words, but God does not forgive or cleanse completely, recalling the iniquity of parents upon children and grandchildren to the third and even fourth generations. In other words, lest we think that when we are being asked to practice compassion, that it is in some way acting as an eraser to error, to mistakes, to hurts, to brokenness. I want to be clear on that point. That is not what our tradition believes. Instead, compassion is our path forward so that we can practice teshuvah in the moment where the need for compassion is presented itself again. We will double down on the compassion, not because it makes everything better, but because it is the only way forward. It is the only path in which real generative, restorative energy can bring a healing. Our tradition doesn't let us hide from what is real. When we err, we do and we must accept the consequences and responsibilities that come along with it. But we are invited into a compassionate relationship with our humanity through this Torah portion and this uttering of these attributes. And so as a way of maybe even going one step further and practicing this spiritual awakening this morning as I offer these words, if anyone would like to type into the chat a particular area in which you want to send compassion, could be for a particular person or a particular thing that's happened, maybe for yourself, whatever it is, right? I'll say aloud for my own quickness to anger. I must find a way forward through compassion so that I can adjust and change that in myself. And I'll invite you to hold on to those others. That would be for you a great kavanah as we enter into these Torah readings. And so thank you so much for listening. I hope that it will bring our Torah even more alive. And I will move us into our Torah portion for the day and just ask that you rise up, as has been our custom, on the inside with awareness as we offer these words. Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, besolecha shne luchot avanim karishonim, וכתבתי על הלוחות את הדברים אשר היו על הלוחות הראשונים אשר שיברת. ויהיה נכון לבוקר, ועלית בבוקר אל הר סיני, וניצבת לי שם על ראש ההר, ואיש לא יעלה עמך, וגם איש אל ירע בכל ההר, גם הצאן והבקר אל יראו אל מול ההר ההוא. ויפסול שני לוחות אבנים כראשונים. וישכם משה בבוקר ויעל אל הר סיני כאשר ציווה אדוני אותו. ויקח בידו שני לוחות אבנים. וירד אדוני בענן ויתייצב עמו שם ויקרא בשם אדוני. We rise up if you are so inclined. ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא, and here are the words to repeat after me. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim, ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטאה, ונקה לא ינקה, פוקד עוון אבות על בנים ועל בני בנים, על שלשים ועל רבעים. You may be seated. וימהר משה ויקוד ארצה וישתחו, ויאמר אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך אדוני, ילך נא אדוני בקרבנו, כי עם כשעורף הוא, וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו. ויאמר הנה אנוכי כורת ברית נגד כל עמך אעשה נפלאות אשר לא נבראו בכל הארץ ובכל הגויים, וראה כל העם אשר אתם בקרבו את מעשה אדוני כי נורא הוא אשר אני עושה עמך. So just take a moment to see if you can internalize whatever it was that was your kavanah for receiving this wisdom of compassion. Just breathing into it for another moment. And so we move now into a short excerpt from our Haftarah before we finish with our concluding prayers. This is also a special Haftarah. It is given only on this day in a very particular way to represent for us some of the ways in which our ancestors felt deeply exiled. This is a very famous passage from the book of Ezekiel. You'll see from chapter 37. It is called the vision of the valley of dry bones, a prophecy that in which we see demonstrated here in this text that I'll chant, that Ezekiel is standing in this valley. And it is full of dry human bones, but before him, the bones begin to reconnect into human figures. The bones become covered with tendon tissues and flesh and skin, and then God reveals to Ezekiel that, in fact, this prophecy he must carry forward, and that is that all of this humanity, that this is the people Israel, those who are struggling to know and do and wrestle with what God is, with what is knowing, is enlightenment. And so that it is actually Ezekiel's job to carry this prophecy into the future, not of the dry bones, but of the bringing up people back into life. It is, of course, this deeply messianic message about returning from exile back to our home, It is thought of course, in literal forms back to the land of Israel, and just as much thought of as metaphorical and spiritual in nature, that there are parts of us even now in this moment that are exiled. Parts that we are young parts are parts of us from our past, perhaps inherited memory from lives that preceded us, inheritances from our families that are exiled and that want to come home, that want to be part of us. And the way in which they are transforming us little by little, perhaps away from being our whole selves, can only be healed if we let them come back. And so this is a truly hopeful text at this time of year. May we, in our freedom, find room to bring even the parts of ourselves that are exiled back home. You can find the blessing in your virtual Siddur on page 272 or on page 254.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריהם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת וצדק.
I'm going to start at verse 4 in chapter 37. We'll begin at verse 4 and go through 13.
ויאמר אלי, הנבא על העצמות האלה, ואמרת עליהם, העצמות היבשות, שמעו דבר אדוני. כה אמר אדוני אלוהים לעצמות האלה, הנה אני מבית בכם רוח ורוח וחיתם, ונתתי עליכם גידים, והעליתי עליכם בשר, וקרמתי עליכם אור, ונתתי בכם רוח וחיתם, ויתרתם כי אני אדוני. וניבאתי כאשר צוויתי, ויהי קול כי הנביא, והנה רעש, ותקרבו עצמות עצם אל עצמו. וראיתי, והנה עליהם גידים ובשר עלה, ויקרם עליהם אור מלמעלה ורוח אין בהם. ויאמר אלי, הנבא אל הרוח, הנבא ונדם, ואמרת אל הרוח, כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, מארבע רוחות בואי הרוח, ופחי בהרוגים האלה ויחיו. והנבאתי כאשר ציווני, ותבואו והם הרוח, ויחיו, ויעמדו על רגליהם, חיל גדול מאוד מאוד. ויאמר אלי, בן אדם, העצמות האלה כל בית ישראל המה, הנה אמרים, יבשו עצמותינו, ועבדם תקוותנו נגזרנו לנו. לכן הנבא ואמרת עליהם, כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, הנה אני פותח את קברותיכם, והעליתי אתכם מקברותיכם עמי, והבאתי אתכם על אדמת ישראל, וידעתם כי אני אדוני בפתחי את קברותיכם, ובעלותי אתכם מקברותיכם עמי,
ונתתי רוחי בכם וחייתם, והנחתי אתכם על אדמתכם, וידעתם כי אני אדוני, דיברתי ועשיתי נאום אדוני. And finally, our closing bracha, also on the same page, 272 or 254 in your paper copy. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. And so, friends, we gather ourselves up again and prepare ourselves for our Aleinu. And so I invite you, if you are able to rise up on your feet. Oh, my dog just decided to join us for Aleinu as well. And so we turn to page 312 or 284 as we chant the words of Aleinu. Aleinu leshabeach, 282 in your paper copy. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. We move forward to page 305. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. So we take a moment to ready ourselves for our Kaddish Yatom. And I'm going to just take a moment to thank you all again for being here and to apologize and ask for your compassion for the many errors that I'm sure I made in announcing page numbers. It's a little bit like patting your head or whatever, the belly and the head situation with all the moving parts. But I am so grateful to be together with all of you. In any case, it's now our moment to turn our hearts and perhaps even to share in the grief with those in our community who are in mourning. And our list does continue to grow. At first, I will begin, of course, by offering the names of those for whom our community is remembering, because it is their yahrzeit, their 1-year anniversary, and I'll invite you to share others in the chat with us as well. And once again, if you would like to rise up at your seat, I invite you to do so as you hear the name of your loved one read aloud. The yahrzeits for this Shabbat are Ronald Abbott, Henry H. Abrams, Louis Abramson, Sidney Ackerman Jr., Rosa Cohen, Abraham Duboff, Moshe Ehrlich, Lake Epstein, Thomas Fitzgerald, Yetta Friedman, John Gary, Clara Gross, Abraham Gussoff, Herman Gutman, Phyllis Gutterman, Mark Hoffman, Gary Jacobs, Stanley Jacobson, Harry Kaner, Riza Kalmayer, Rebecca Katz, Milton Keels, Morris Korn, Martha Lazar, Leon Levoff, Paul Louis Seltzer, Phyllis Mallister, Ann Meyer, Richard J. Penny, Erna Reisner,
Saul Ring, Leo Schneider, Antonia Schubert, Jerome Silver, Francis Simkowski, Joseph Singman, Esther Skolnick, Sarah Spiller, Rose Stelzer, Mary Stoltzberg, Samuel Weistein, Samson Weiner, Blanche Zeman. And for those, I haven't seen any other names in our yahrzeit list, but I invite you once again to write those if there are names of others that I have not said aloud on this list. And we also call to mind those who are in their Shiva and Shloshim periods of mourning. First, let me just mention that being laid to rest in just the next hours after Shabbat, I would like to extend our deep condolences to the Westreich family, especially to Lisa Westreich, although not officially on our yahrzeit list, to remember that she will be sitting Shiva and in mourning for her mother, Alice Scholler. The Shiva for Alice is on Monday evening. You should have received an email about it already. And as well, I will read other names aloud, but I will also say at this moment and begin that our hearts also go out to Warren Levinson and his family for in the mourning of his mother also that just died in recent days, Rosalind Wellner, and Shiva for her will be tomorrow evening virtually. Also to our community remembers and holds deeply in our hearts the following people who are in mourning. Helena Altabeff, who is mourning her uncle, Jerry Lenkowitz, Elise Link, who is mourning her mother, Harriet Heinig, Jane Raitt, who is mourning her husband, Stephen Raitt, Paul Hirsch, who is mourning his mother, Francine Hirsch, Karen Cohen and Aaliyah and Harris Cohen mourning their husband and father, respectively, Andrew Cohen, Eric Rosendorf, who is mourning his sister, Lauren Smith, Arlene Krause, who is mourning her mother, Janet Gilberg, Rabbi Anne Laurent, who is mourning her father, Donatien Laurent, Lauren Glassman, who is mourning her sister, Mara Kochba, Brian Sterling, who is mourning his father, Harold Sterling, and finally Beth Adelman, who is mourning her mother, Renee Jacobson. In addition, I invite you to add other names if you are in your Shiva or Shloshim or 1 year period of mourning, to add those names at this time. And so now finally, in support of all of those for whom we know in our community are in need of our compassion, our love, our tenderness, and our thoughts and prayers, and for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, if it is your custom, I invite you once more to rise up and as we recite the words of Kaddish together, reminding us to be a reflection of light and compassion in this world of the living. You can turn on in your Siddur, virtual Siddur, to page 312 or page 294. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתחומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל לשמי דקדושה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעולמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Friends, I know that was a little bit of a marathon today. The intermediate days of Shabbat have a little bit more that we need to attend to, but wow, thank you all for sticking it out with me and for celebrating Shabbat with me. And certainly our hearts ache with all of those in our community for whom you are mourning and grieving these days. And so too we make room for the gratitude
for having one another in each other's lives. It would have certainly been enough had we just all been members of Temple Ner Tamid, but wow, is it a dayenu again and again that we keep finding one another virtually, that we keep attending to each other, that we keep showing up for one another, and that I hope and pray that we continue to do so and walk on the same path with compassion, with tenderness. So we're going to end our tefillah with dayenu. I hope that you're singing from home. We're singing from our home. Here we go. Ilu hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Shabbat Shalom, friends. Don't forget that we meet for Havdalah in just a few hours from now at 7:30, but also that next week we move into, thank you, friends, so much for your kind words, that we move into our final days of Pesach next week, and that on Thursday morning we will have a festival tefillah, our final one of the holiday, in which we will offer not only the Hallel prayers, but also our Yizkor, our memorial service. Shabbat Shalom, friends. Much, much love to each of you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Have a wonderful and blessed spring day. Shabbat Shalom.